Guys, welcome back to Clockwork and Noodles for another breakdown for the case study of Vanitas. We are back here for episode 5. We are nearly approaching the halfway mark of the season now, so that means my midway review is going to go up very shortly. I plan to sit down and get most of it done next week on Wednesday. If I can get it all done and it goes smoothly, I will release it that day or the day after, but it'll be around that time. So make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. That does me a huge favor and it really helps me out. And it also means you guys get to know when that video goes down. In that video, I am going to crown my top 3 OPs, EDs of the season. And I'm also going to crown my top 3 anime as it stands right now, halfway during the season. This is bound to change, but it's always fun to take a little test and see how the season's progressing and what my favourite shows are. And it allows me to talk to you guys in general about the seasons, not just about Vanitas or anything else. Fun, talk about everything as a whole, and I get to tell you my thoughts on the season. There's a Discord channel too that will allow you to get a notification to your phone whenever videos go up. Let's begin because episode 5 was interesting. I wasn't sure if I suddenly missed an episode. I don't think I've missed an episode. I just felt like the pacing this week was a little bit weird. At the end of last week, we saw pretty much the unraveling or the embodiment of the charlatan. Chloe, the wish to give the charlatan a body. And this is mainly because of love. In a sense, love, possession, or just jealousy. The charlatan had taken away and defiled. Jean is also a character I really like, so I can fully get behind Chloe's rage here of just how angry she is knowing that the charlatan has turned him into a beast for the sake of protecting Chloe. So he becomes the beast to stop people hunting down Chloe, because if there's a beast and they kill a beast, they will leave Chloe alone if she isn't the beast. Theoretically, although they think she's part and controlling the beast and working with the beast, they would find another reason to kill her regardless, but that is why he gave up his name to the charlatan. Naenia, a body, essentially was good, and it seemed like we were going in a good direction. The table suddenly flipped and we thought the charlatan, clearly the name that is behind all of the bad events going on in this anime, it would have been good if she suddenly hadn't been destroyed. So the wish initially put Chloe on the good side. She put her on the good side and we're totally supporting her. I do support Chloe anyway. I think she is a very misunderstood character. I think, especially even after this week, I feel awful for what seemingly is about to happen to her, because the tables really do flip very, very quickly. We went from a place of thinking we were on the end goal, it was all going to come to an end, we had Naenia in our hands, we were going to kill Naenia, but of course things aren't that simple. This is also where I feel like might have had a time skip, or whether they've made a really odd cut or a really weird directing choice. It feels really quick because we suddenly have Astolfo outside going to fight Noe, but then suddenly this very, very brief moment where suddenly everybody is now inside the castle one way or another. It just felt like the pacing at this moment felt really weird. Click of the fingers and suddenly everyone's now inside again, despite at one point everyone being outside. It felt a little bit jarring pacing wise. I was starting to question Vanitas. He pleads for Chloe, take the body away, stop pushing, don't kill Naenia. Which is something that I felt initially was a bit of a weird one, because surely Vanitas would want all of this to end, and if it does come down to a person who can't be reasoned with, aka the charlatan, who didn't really seem to want to talk, calling to get Chloe away from her felt really, really weird. And that is also when he stated the charlatan would be more dangerous if she was to remember who she is. No joke, I can't even make this up. I wrote queen. Just underneath everything, I wrote perhaps she's the queen, because if she's going to remember who she is, and it suddenly makes her more dangerous. We've got people like Rufian who are just bowing to her whims. She must be someone very, very important because they realise who she is. Even though I put it down without fully knowing that this would be the thing, the real identity of the charlatan, Naenia, is the queen. We very briefly saw the queen early in part 1. During the explosion when Naenia is screaming out, every single character can be seen during this moment as well. I think it's more just showing you the connection that vampires have, because every single vampire in the area, even Luca is seen, and Luca, to my knowledge, is not a curse bearer. For the first time, a glance at Luca's brother, who is in chains, unmasking of the charlatan this week as well. I wasn't really expecting any of this, but I do feel like I've missed an episode out. I don't know why suddenly everybody's inside. I feel like the pacing feels a bit weird suddenly, or this has just suddenly happened. It might just be that the pacing has suddenly sped up and I wasn't expecting it. So far, everything's kind of gone very, very slowly. We're in the woods and we've had some time just chilling in the castle, talking to people, or looking at backstories mainly. It's felt a little bit slow paced. This massive jump, I suddenly feel like I've missed an episode, and YouTube will back me me up. I definitely haven't missed a breakdown or anything. Charlatan Nania is the Queen. A character we were told was once upon a time quite active and then stopped making public appearances. Whether this means that the Queen all the time became the charlatan, or if the charlatan still was somebody else and took over the Queen. Could be one of those two. We don't have enough information to make that call just yet. Sadly, it looks like Chloe is done for. I don't think it's going to end well for Chloe. She's definitely infected, and this charlatan Nania has infected her with this black goop that we've seen quite a bit. And it's forced Chloe and her powers to create this bubble. I'm going to call it the time bubble, a realm existing outside of what's going on. Chloe was sadly right where Nania wanted her. She was right in front of her. I have to stay with the art design, with the true face of what Nania particularly looks like. That is a lot of hair. That is an insane amount of hair. That is going to result in an insane amount of knots and matting. It's a really cool design. It really does full on remind me of the artwork for Pandora Hearts. True identity is a melanomen, a calamity. It's like a calamity. It's come from something, a disease of a vampire. That's really all I got. And the only thing which even came up was Vanitas. It came straight from Vanitas. Doesn't really seem to be anywhere else. She is just a curse formed from the Queen of Faustine, the first vampire of the Crimson Moon. What relation this queen would have to the Blue Moon, because Vanitas is under that curse, and what Vanitas actually was, or who they were, because they were a person, and our current Vanitas took on that name. That's not his true name, but he's taken on the name of that curse. Really want to know what it means in the grand scheme of things when we find out the identity of the charlatan. I am in full support of Vanitas for not giving him all the details, because he didn't know exactly what was going on. Up until this point, right until this episode, since even knowing Vanitas, his life has been completely in danger throughout the entire anime. We've seen him under threat. We've seen Rufian go apeshit almost on him. So I completely understand why he wouldn't say something, especially like, oh my god, your queen is bad. Even in that sequence where they're in Rufian's office and he suggests the queen is to blame, someone higher up, and Rufian goes apeshit. He was very much on the mark, and I suspect Rufian knows the identity of the charlatan as well. I believe Vanitas was undeserving of the head banging that Noe gives him. Also, stop, Noe, you are not Tanjiro, please. No more head smacks. It's not worth it. I understand why he kept that information to himself. I actually didn't think I liked Roland as a character. He was a little bit too, I don't know, suspicious to me. He suddenly like flip-flopped around. I didn't know if I could truly believe him, but I think I might be able to believe you after this, because Roland is the, perhaps, in quotes, sane character of the church, madly fond of Vanitas and Noe also. Whenever they're together, Roland reminds me of Noe too much, that like they're both there going, I'm fond of you, I'm fond of you, oh my god, no, stop, I'm fond of you. I could imagine those two being like that together. The church has infiltrated this time bubble, as this time bubble is going to engulf Gavorden. The one thing that Chloe didn't want to actually happen is seemingly happening because of the curse that Nania has placed upon her and her own powers, that Gavorden is now being completely engulfed. The moment when Roland asks, so what is our plan, literally made my heart jump. It suddenly jumps up a million places in my book, because he knows something else is going on, and he even says, how do I get a more peaceful resolve? Really like him for saying that. He suddenly becomes a good boy in my books. I really hope they can fix this without too much death on their hands. Let's go back for a bit more flashback. We are going to end on a flashback this time. Her flashback memories of her meeting her first family. I thought her family was so precious and absolutely adorable. I love these guys, but sadly it was gonna end tragically. Everything in this universe seems to end in bloodshed or death. Young June is absolutely adorable, but it all comes horrifically to an end, as we're told that her parents betrayed the vampires. I want to know more about this. It feels like we're missing a giant puzzle piece, a very important puzzle piece right now, where we get this mysterious voice. I don't think it's Rufian, but it could be Rufian. 50-50 on this one. We hear a mysterious voice. The bureau. They make the puppets and they end up having no wills of their own, simply obeying, which is very similar to the powers that we've seen Rufian have. They seem to manipulate and brainwash people into becoming their servants. Jean incarcerated for failing to kill Chloe the first time around. This next moment could be one of two things. One, the charlatan was there because we know the charlatan was haunting Chloe. Maybe it jumped, I don't know. So the charlatan takes over. What I think actually happened is Rufian bit her, And then she made a promise during that moment where they seem to be slightly out of body, and he got her to make a promise, and then she can't remember this promise. In that moment, she scratched Rufian on the cheek. Her hands are covered in blood. Rufian's cheek is bleeding like scratch marks, more like in self-defense, as she didn't know who was attacking her. The voice matches Rufian entirely. Rufian telling her to go into a sleep. Him having the power to put a vampire to sleep until needed. Very powerful to him, making Rufian very OP. Here's Vanitas' voice, trying to talk a bit of sense into her, and I actually love the way that he's there to bring a calmingness, because she's really beating herself up saying she means nothing, and she's really tormenting herself because of this brainwashing that we've seen. But Vanitas is the voice of reason, and I love the calming effects of those blue lights and then him suddenly appearing right at the end when perhaps she needs him the most. I like that moment. It's really, really symbolic. I love the way that entire section of her almost in water. I like the way it's framed. I like the way that it's set up. It was a very interesting episode. A lot is happening. The pace is starting to really pick up. We've now got Chloe in a very bad position. We've got the charlatan has just vanished. I don't know if the charlatan is now going to be inhabiting Chloe's body, because I think she's taken it over anyway. We've got the castle in the sky. Gavorden is now in this time bubble, which is very, very bad. We've got the villagers of Gavorden now trapped here, being picked off by wolves. The church, thankfully, is on our side for a bit, protecting the innocent people. But we do know that if things go really out of hand, Roland will have no choice but to act and take Chloe's life if she suddenly becomes evil or she is infected with Naenia. So we need to see what's going on. We have more questions raised about Rufian. Knowledge that the charlatan, the queen, are one. So we finally have a face to that bodiless form that we've seen throughout the 2 parts of the anime so far. Very, very good. I love the vibe of this anime. This anime is very good at world building and atmosphere. It's kind of very oppressive, heavy vibe this season as well. A very big contrast from season 1, which felt a bit more happier, a bit more poppy, a bit more colourful. And I even said that the OPs are completely contrasted as well. First OP, everybody's happy, bubbly, spinning around Paris. Second OP, it's frozen, it's cold. And obviously we've come to a second part of the anime where things are a little bit more serious. I like this. I like the way they've shown this with the use of their OPs. Loving it to bits. Can't wait to see where the anime is going to go. I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves. I can't wait to give you my midway review. Very excited to share with you my thoughts. Have a good day, guys. Bye-bye.